Yesterday evening, when we were together, it was reminded that the theme for our gatherings together is the death of love. And the question was asked, where on the spiritual journey from awakening to enlightenment, to the absence of illusion, or God realization, is the death of love experienced? And that question remains to be answered, we hope, by the end of our days together. But there's another question arising from this story. This is a story about a great king, Moab. Now, he was a great king, but he was told by his physicians that he had a deathly illness, and that the only thing that would save him was the milk of a lioness. But even King Moab's finest warriors and hunters would not dare to go to the lair of a lioness after her giving birth. So King Moab sent a messenger to King Solomon, whose kingdom abutted his own. And when the messenger arrived with this request, King Solomon turned to his closest counselor, advisor, and confidant, and said, Benaiah, would you undertake this task? And his counselor Benaiah said, for the glory of God, I will. And so, in the company of King Moab's messenger, and taking with him 10 small goats, they set up the mountain to where lioness's den was located. When they arrived there, Benaiah threw one of the small goats into the lioness's den, but did not show himself, hid himself from her sight. The next day he threw another small goat, but this day he showed himself, and in the following days he was able to become so close to the lioness that he was able to fondle her and even take the milk from her teats. Taking this milk carefully back down the mountain to King Solomon, King Solomon handed the flagon to the messenger and wished him a safe journey and said to him, may God watch your tongue. On his journey back to his own kingdom, the messenger had to rest for the night, and during that night he had a dream. And in his dream, the parts of his body fought amongst themselves to say who was the most important, the most powerful. His legs said, it was we who carried you up the mountain to the cave of the lioness. The eyes said, it was we who guided you up the mountain to find the lair. And then it was the mind who said, but it was I who found a means of placating the lioness. But then, even though they could not come to a decision, suddenly the tongue spoke, and he said, you are all wrong. It is I who am most powerful amongst you. Ha! They said, you have flapping piece of flesh inside a dark place? So the tongue said, just wait and see. And so the messenger took the milk back to King Mohab, and when he was in his presence and about to hand over the flask, without any volition, out of his mouth came, "Here, O great monarch, is the milk of the bitch that will bring your cure to your illness." The king said, "What? What? You were told to bring the milk of a lioness, not the milk of a dog. Down into the dungeon with you, and tomorrow your head will be lopped off your shoulders." So the messenger was taken down to a deep, deep dungeon. And that night he had a dream, and in the dream all the parts of his body and his organs were quaking, and the tongue said, "You see? You see now who is the most powerful among you?" And quivering and shaking, the parts of the body said, "Yes, yes, yes, you are. Please, but please save us from death." The next morning, when the messenger awoke, he called the guards to him and said, "Take me to the king." When he was brought up into the presence of King Mohab, he said, "Great monarch, why is it that I am to be killed when I have brought you the cure to your illness?" "But," said the king, "you are told to bring the milk of a lioness, not a dog." And the messenger said, "Whatever name it is called, what does it matter if it brings a cure?" King Mohab saw the sense of this, and he drank the milk and was immediately cured. This came back to the ears of King Solomon, and King Solomon wrote in his Chronicle of Truths, "Life and death is in the power of the tongue." So the question that arises out of this story for us: what does the tongue represent in this story? What does the tongue signify in this story? Knowing as we do and experiencing more and more the alchemy of storytelling, knowing that every part of every story is representative of our own psyche, our own self. Answer this question from your experience of life. What does the tongue represent to you? Ponder on the experiences of your life and where you are now. Why does King Solomon write as a truth? Life and death is in the power of the tongue.